Let's talk, Lucille,
Oh,
about the success with no, you can go ahead to the next slide, but let's discuss how you've been able to collect SNAP, Senior, and WIC, and some of the data on your uh, benefit
yeah.
usage.
At the end of each market day, we ask vendors to provide us with almost a tally sheet where they denominate what type of program. We try to keep it as general as possible. Going back to the previous slide, it only has like SNAP EBT, Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and then the stuff at the bottom we will denominate and be able to, my staff are able to tease out. But ultimately, to the vendor, they all just look like the same buck that they know they can accept. Um, and because these bucks are marked in a certain way, we're able to say, hey, this buck came from the pantry, this buck came from Veggie RX, this buck came from the match program, so on and so forth. Um, and so this results in this information, right? Where
Yeah.
we're able to see year by year. And this is a disclaimer of like, this is not my money. This is the vendor's money, right? And we see this as like a vendor success. Like, isn't it great that they're making like it's their return on investment, their hard labor being rewarded here. So you'll see cash credit sales, WIC, Farmers Market Nutrition Program, WIC Match, again, which is the Johnson and Johnson match, Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, Senior Match, SNAP, Good Food Bucks, Market Bucks, which is our an incentive program. We have uh, Rutgers Student Food Pantry, two Veggie RX programs, and additional incentives. Small note is we actually print out this like loyalty card that's called a market card that people can stamp every time they come to our market or fill out a survey or go to a booth to do a bit of nutrition education. And after they get a certain amount of stamps, we are able to give them a physical, like 5 market bucks, for example. So
Mhm.
that's the small, like again, loyalty shoppers card situation. Um,
Let's pause here for a second. So this is a sophisticated system. I mean, there's several payment types here that are listed, and I just wanted to note for folks that may be checking this out. Um, some inclusive markets just take cash and SNAP, for example, like if they get their
right,
certification to, they have a farmer or vendors that are certified for that. It's usually recommended, and I recommend to most people that we work with in any kind of like urban markets here in New Jersey, pursue, the WIC and senior, because I've seen just personally, I've seen a lot of utilization of those, and a lot of people ask about those in the summer. And then, of course, SNAP. A lot of these other programs that you have with matching bucks and extra grant programs and extra incentives that you throw out are also great, and I think speak to the success of your market. So, but I just wouldn't want anyone who's starting a new market to feel like they need all of these programs right away. But they do build out. They can build out over time, and each one requires some data tracking, but also communication with the customers and vendors, right? About what are all these
right.
things? How do they work? But I think once you get going, all these things complement each other, right?
Right. Because I think the bottom line is we're trying to increase the buying power of the community member, increase the return on investment on that vendor's day. So it's these multiple arms of funding that really support, the robustness of the farmers market. And you're right, like as these programs grow, like it's been challenging to make sure that like training my staff has been consistent with the way that they notate things. So when it comes to vendors, like we give them like a full market sheet of like everything, but then for WIC and senior, we ask them because there is a match, there is almost a transaction per transaction like denomination so that we're able to properly reimburse the vendor. And there's a whole like paper buck situation that we we often run into where we're spending hours at the end of a market day counting paper bucks. Again, successful program, but then a lot of staff time making sure that vendors are being reimbursed properly, but also from the correct funding streams on the back end. But
Well,
like you said, this is
well,
something that's like much further.
yeah, well, we'll return to that. I mean, that's the complexity of managing all this and totaling and accounting and trying to get all this accurate. on top of answering questions at the market each week and making sure everybody's ready to accept these. Um, let's that's an issue with inclusive markets. It's a challenge, I should say, and it's a challenge for us as a state. To kind of continue to find ways to streamline these programs so that it's more money in the farmer's pocket and more food in people's bags, but not always tons and tons more labor. So let's return to that issue maybe at the end.
Sure.
But this, I think, is again what you've presented here. And if you want to go on to your next slide too, I mean, this really shows a lot of business here being
Yeah.
done.
So, the next slide is to show kind of very broadly what type of customer comes to our market. We don't ID anyone when they come in, but we can track again what type of funding source they paid with. So, as you can see, Jones Ave on Tuesdays and Saturdays, almost half of those days are from the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. A smaller portion is from WIC. And on Thursday, you'll see again um, the Rutgers Student Food Pantry redemption rate. So our intention of uh, for Jones Ave being in the community and supporting seniors, and then likewise in on Thursday being with close to the college students and getting those redemption rates, like this is a sign of success to us.
Yeah, yeah, and also it really speaks to over time being strategic about the locations. It's very easy for a lot of different, I think, community groups or people who are trying to service a particular neighborhood to say, oh, well, I think a farmer's market should go here. But sometimes what some of this success shows me is that really thinking through and kind of planning it in a citywide way to say, okay, these are really the best locations where we'll get the most seniors. And then maybe on another day, we have to rotate to where we get the most college students. I think that shows a lot of thought about bringing the market to people in a way that I don't know is the right for is the right for the most possible customers to come to.
Right. And I do have to note that like thankfully I'm a full-time staff member and I have the capacity to kind of rotate the markets. It's
Mm,
not by any means like you said a requirement as people are thinking about where to be. I've also had vendors share that like as more market locations pop up, then their daily return ends up decreasing, right? Because there's more you end up competing with yourself, so to speak.
mm,
So thankfully in New Brunswick, like, well, not so thankfully that it's food insecure space, but thankfully that there's a lot of people, like this is a very urban market space. So they're able to support all of these different locations.
great. Um, Lucille, I want to ask you also just to say a little bit more about the process of like what a day looks like. So I think you mentioned to me previously that you guys keep a customer count, like a clicker count as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, how does it work with and how much staffing do you have at all of these different markets?
Yeah. So I'm trying to see. This is the total number of markets and then customers per total. And then here you'll see like customer counts and sales numbers per day. Sales number again comes from the vendor sheet, but customer count is on the left. Again, we're very lucky to have the funding support from Johnson and Johnson. Typically, it's myself and 2 to 4 staff at every given market day. And that is strategic to make sure that we're able to provide translation services as well. So oftentimes we're interfacing and supporting community members that speaks Mandarin, Spanish. We've had folks that speak Korean, Hindi, Russian. And we try, like, it's great when my staff are multilingual and able to support them. So typically what happens is if we have only 2 staff, one person is manning the SNAP transaction table and one person is manning what we would call the welcome table, which is where they will do like that clicker count. They have a physical clicker and they're able to count in each person that kind of just walks through the market, not necessarily shops anywhere. I understand, and clicker counts are great because vendors are often asking, like, what's foot traffic like? Especially if you're an established market and we're trying to recruit new vendors, we can say, hey, on a Thursday College Ave day, on average, we're getting about 800 people coming through our market on any given day. And that is very attractive for folks because that's 800 potential sales for the vendor. So we've found it very important to keep up with the clicker count. And then at the welcome table, again, we're providing translation services, we're providing resources on like how to register for SNAP, how to use your benefit, how to assist with all those little bits. And then at the SNAP tr table, we swipe the card, but also provide translation services at point of sale if there are questions about, oh, is this banana $2 or $3? But say that in Mandarin rather than only in English.
Wow. So you said a lot there. I think, first of all, thank you for keeping data. A lot of markets don't keep sophisticated data, but if you want to really hone in on how to become an inclusive market and best serve the customer and the vendor, which Lucille just described, then you really need data to see where your gaps are and what you're doing. Yes, clicker counts, any way that you can measure foot traffic. If it doesn't, as anyone in business knows, if it doesn't relate to a sale that one day, it doesn't mean it won't, because you just want more eyeballs on the market, right? And that's a huge service that you mentioned. I think to this data is really important for prospective vendors for your market or returning vendors. And yes, the language and translation stuff, applaud you for that, because really getting to know what the populations are that are coming to your market and how to best serve them. I mean, you might be responsible for a huge percentage increase in sales and just really helping those customers navigate through where they might have just walked away, right? And we've seen that in several markets throughout the state, whether you have more French speaking populations, more Spanish, like you mentioned, a number of different Asian languages. So yeah, all those things, again, not to make it sound burdensome, but think of them all as different levers you can pull. I think as you're building an inclusive market. Can I have people with the right translation? Can I keep better data that will excite my vendors to be there? So that's great. Lucille, can you? I think it's a good segue. Can you talk a little bit about outreach strategy and what, besides great location, like what brings people to the market? How do people find out about your markets? And do you have like a marketing budget? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. So marketing wise, I will have to say this is like a work in progress because we're in this like identity crisis, rebranding hilariousness. Um, so again, thankfully, because we are funded through J&J, we have a lot of flexibility when it comes to being able to purchase like branded materials. In the past, we've sent out like postcards with limited success. But during the market season, we have an active Instagram account. We partner with a variety of organizations that also help spread the word. So, for example, the Rutgers Student Food Pantry bucks are not only more money for the vendor, but it's also a marketing tactic to get students to come to our markets,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this like twofold bit. We also send out email newsletters on a weekly or monthly basis, depending on the market. Um, and I found that customers, at least at Cook's Market, like really appreciate knowing what products are going to be available a few days before so they can do planning, right? Because again, another barrier is some folks may not be used to seeing seasonality, so they will ask for a tomato in the dead of winter when it's not available, and then get disappointed when they come to a market and they can't get something that they might get from a conventional store,
Right.
right?
Right.
So having an email newsletter, again, communicating with the vendors as much as you can to share, hey, like we'd love to include highlight your products or maybe any sales that you might be having in a weekly newsletter. Capacity wise, it can be taxing, but I think it'll be worth the effort to make sure that customers are in the know as to what they can buy and what sales they can look forward to.
Wonderful. Besides this, do you have any other slides that you want to share? Otherwise, I'm just going to fire a couple rapid fire
No,
questions
that's
at
it.
you.
I'm gonna stop sharing now.
Okay.
Yep.
Just by way of wrapping up, and there's a whole lot here, so we definitely worth going through again and summarizing. But coordinate
Oh, if I
partnerships.
have,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
one more data collection piece, if that's okay. I'm going to
Please.
share my, I'm going to, from current slide. So something that's been really successful at our market is providing sticky notes for people to put notes as a way to collect feedback. And we tied it together with the market card incentive. So again, if you we give you a stamp, if you give us sticky notes, and you can ask different questions like what is your favorite part of the market? What would you like to see at the market? Or ask whatever question, and provide sticky notes as a very low impact way instead of interviewing each participant or collecting a full survey. If there's one or two burning questions, this is just I think a innovative way, and we'll have this like on an easel board or somewhere visible so that people can uh, put their comments.
Hmm.
Um, so we also do surveys at the end of the market season. That's more elaborate. So we've done like interviews, we've done Qualtrics surveys. But this is an example of a very low impact way of collecting feedback from your customers.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. Again, all important ways to understand if your program is working well and if the vendors can do anything to meet their needs better, right? That's really great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop
Thank you.
sharing now. Thank you. Yeah, of course.